Joe Gibbs Racing has amassed massive success that includes hundreds of wins and 5 Cup Series championships, making them one of the fastest rising and most successful NASCAR teams of all time.
Bobby Labonte, our champion in 2000.
But to be great, boundaries have to be pushed, and Joe Gibbs Racing is certainly famous for that. But to win championships, you must work in the gray area.
Tony Stewart is the 2005 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion.
Tonight he earns his first Cup title. Kyle Busch, the 2015 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion.
Kyle Busch scores championship number 2.
Oh, 2-timer out there. Proud of you, buddy. Way to stick with it. Great job, guys.
Today, we're taking a look at every time Joe Gibbs Racing was caught cheating. And man, this list is longer than I thought.
The 96 car, driven by Terry Labonte, is on the racetrack. Brand new race team here in 2006.
Hall of Fame Racing, Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach.
Okay, this first one isn't technically JGR, but Hall of Fame Racing. At their very first showing at Daytona in 2006, JGR cost them big.
And on your left, the 8th different leader of the day is a man who is one of NASCAR's all-time best road racers, Terry Labonte, who's driving the DLP Chevrolet today for Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach.
NASCAR inspectors found an unapproved carburetor modification was used in the 96 DLP Chevy. The penalty included a $25,000 fine to crew chief Felipe Lopez and a loss of 25 driver points to Terry Labonte. Hall of Fame Racing had an engine lease program with Joe Gibbs Racing, and the unapproved carburetor came with the engine supplied to them. Here's a statement that was made by Joe Gibbs Racing regarding the penalty. Joe Gibbs Racing provides all of the engines and carburetors for Hall of Fame Racing, said Gibbs. We are responsible for any issues having arisen from the unapproved carburetor that was taken by NASCAR in Daytona. It is never our intention to put any unapproved parts on any of our race cars or those of our partners. We will join Hall of Fame Racing in appealing the severity of the penalty. After multiple appeals, a 3-member panel from the National Stock Car Racing Commission unanimously held up the ruling and the penalty would stand, putting Hall of Fame Racing in a huge hole after their first race thanks to JGR. And now that we're done with this one, let's get rolling through these a little bit quicker because there's like 5,000 more, so I'm going to speed this up just a little bit.
We're looking at an air pressure adjustment as well. 4 tires for the 20 car, Tony Stewart, guys.
After the nationwide race at Michigan in 2008, NASCAR suspended 7 JGR crew members indefinitely for attempting to manipulate a horsepower test after the completion of the race, and it put a serious dent in owner Joe Gibbs' reputation at the time. After Stewart finished 3rd in the race at Michigan in the number 20 and Logano was 7th in the number 18, inspectors found magnets under the gas pedals of both cars when they were sent to the chassis dyno for examination. NASCAR Vice President of Competition Robert Pemberton said that the teams were attempting to mask the car's true horsepower. While NASCAR discussed and ultimately decided against banning the cars from future races, the penalties were amongst the hardest NASCAR had ever levied at the time. Crew chiefs Jason Ratliff and Dave Rogers were suspended and fined $50,000 each. The number 18 car chief Dorian Thorson, engine tuner Michael Johnson, and crew member Toby Bigelow, and the number 20 car chief Richard Bray and engine tuner Dan Bajek were all suspended indefinitely. Drivers Tony Stewart and Joey Logano were each docked 150 driver points. JGR was stripped of 150 owner points for each car, and the teams were placed on probation for the rest of the season. The discovery of using magnets to try to prevent the gas pedals from reaching the floor came as Gibbs' number 18 and number 20 Toyotas had dominated the 2008 season to that point. Here's a statement from Joe Gibbs. In 17 years, we have never had any representative of Joe Gibbs Racing knowingly act outside of NASCAR rules, and that is something we consider essential to how we operate on a daily basis. What we have determined is these individuals involved used extremely poor judgment. Joe Gibbs Racing did not appeal, and that would also be Tony Stewart's final NASCAR nationwide race at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Busch. After winning 4 races in the regular season, he missed the chase by just 8 points. Their team told me today that they feel more pressure now than they would have if they made the chase. And that's because they know that they need to perform, and they need to perform now.
At New Hampshire Motor Speedway in 2009, the first race of the chase, the number 18 of Kyle Busch was found to be in violations of actions detrimental to stock car racing. The height of the car at the left front fender did not meet the required specifications and was too low in post-race inspection. Crew Chief Steve Addington was fined $25,000 and placed on NASCAR probation for the rest of the season, and Busch and car owner Joe Gibbs were penalized 25 championship driver and 25 championship owner points. Joe Gibbs Racing accepted the penalty and did not appeal. Back to Michigan again, and I promise this won't be the last time. In Michigan in 2011, all 3 of the Joe Gibbs Racing cars were found to be in violations of actions detrimental to stock car racing. The parts in question were oil pans. The oil pans were found on the cars of driver Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, with an approved oil pan on his car, won the race. Busch finished 3rd. And as a result, the 3 crew chiefs, Mike Ford, Dave Rogers, and Greg Zipadelli, all got fined $50,000 each and were placed on probation till the end of the year. All 3 car chiefs also were placed on probation until the end of the year. In a statement, JGR had the following reaction. We received NASCAR's ruling today with regard to the penalties for having oil pans on our cars that had not been submitted for approval prior through going through inspection on Friday. Although the parts were not illegal, we did not follow the proper submission for approval process. We will not appeal NASCAR's ruling.
Joey O'Donnell, he's able to keep going back to the front though. This car, can't say it enough how strong it looks tonight.
All right, we got more Joey Logano. Joey cheated a lot for JGR. I had no idea. In 2012, at the Jalapeno 250 nationwide race at Daytona, officials found that Joe Gibbs Racing's number 18 Toyota that Logano drove to a 5th place finish was too low in the front in a post-race inspection. Gibbs was docked 6 points in the owner championship standings. NASCAR placed number 18 crew chief Adam Stevens and car chief Christopher Landis on probation until August 22nd. The sanctioning body also fined Adam Stevens 10,000 big ones. Alright, this one's a little bit bigger. A lot bigger, actually. In one of the largest penalties in history, NASCAR stripped Matt Kenseth of everything but the trophy and the stat line from his victory in Kansas Speedway in 2013. His engine failed a post-race inspection, and NASCAR said one of the 8 connecting rods in the engine of the number 20 Toyota did not meet the minimum weight requirements. Although it was potentially a quality control issue by engine provider Toyota Racing Development, and one that gave no advantage to Kenseth in Sunday's race, Kenseth was stripped of over 50 driver points in the standings. Dude, like he literally only earned like 48 points for the whole thing. Like if he didn't show up, like he would have left with 2 more points. NASCAR also erased 3 bonus points he earned for the win that would have been applied to seating in the chase for the Cup. In addition, the victory will not be credited towards his eligibility for a wildcard berth in the chase. Man, I miss the wildcards. I guess they're all wildcards nowadays, but NASCAR suspended crew chief Jason Ratcliffe for 6 races, fined him $200,000, and placed him on probation until the end of the year. And this was the most shocking thing. In a rare move, car owner Joe Gibbs had his owner's license suspended for the next 6 races, and he won't earn a single car owner point for that time. He was also docked 50 car owner points. Toyota, which supplies JGR the engines through TRD, also lost 5 points in the manufacturer standings. JGR immediately appealed and they were rewarded. JGR did not dispute that the part was illegal, but argued that the penalties were too severe because it leases its engines from Toyota Racing Development and it is not permitted to touch anything inside of them. Toyota accepted responsibility and insisted one light rod did not give Kenseth a performance advantage. The 3-member National Stock Car Racing Appeals Panel agreed and dramatically reduced almost every penalty. The points deducted from Kenseth were reduced from 50 to 12. That moved him from 11th to 4th in the standings. The panel also reinstated the 3 bonus points he earned for that victory for seeding in the chase for the Sprint Cup Championship. Kenseth posted on Twitter, "Glad to have today behind us so we can get our focus back on racing. I respect NASCAR and the appeals process, and I feel like they got it right." The panel also reduced crew chief Jason Ratcliffe's suspension from 6 races to 1 race and eliminated the 6-race suspension for owner Joe Gibbs, but Jason Ratcliffe's $200,000 fine did stand. The panel increased Toyota's penalty from a 5-point to 7-point penalty. Oh, we got the Denny Hamlin ductwork stuff. After Indy in 2014, NASCAR docked Hamlin 75 points. Crew chief Darian Grubb and car chief Wesley Sherrill were suspended 6 races each and placed on probation for the next 6 months. Grubb was also fined $125,000 big ones. Car owner JD Gibbs lost 75 championship owners points after NASCAR found issues with the rear firewall block-off plates on Hamlin's number 11. He finished 3rd behind race winner Jeff Gordon and his teammate Kyle Busch. JGR decided not to appeal the penalties after initially stating that they would after the penalties were handed down. "We had made a mistake. It wasn't a purposeful mistake, obviously. There was no reason to go ahead and appeal," they said. NASCAR announced that the penalties after the Brickyard 400, stating Hamlin's car violated several sections of the rulebook, including sections related to ductwork of the car and sealing of the interior sheet metal on the car. Additionally, the section regarding firewalls being secured in place was violated, which is where a bulk of the penalties stemmed from. The penalties that were assessed were on a P5 level, which is the 2nd highest on NASCAR's scale.
If you're looking for a favorite, you need to look no further than the pole sitter tonight, Kyle Busch. Not only has he won 3 races here in Chicagoland Speedway, he's led over 700 laps at this track. I asked him after qualifying, what does he expect tonight? He said, "I expect to lead 200 more laps." And Rick, I don't think he was kidding.
All right, we got a couple from the same race. 2015 Xfinity race at Chicagoland. The number 18 of Daniel Suarez, his crew chief Eric Phillips, and crew member John Egbert Jr. were put on probation through the end of the year for modifications to the side skirts after pre-race inspection. And then Kyle Busch on number 54. Stocked 10 points in the owner standings. Crew chief Chris Gale was fined $12,500 for the car being too low in the front and post-race inspection. Kyle Busch won the race. He did not earn points, so he didn't technically get a penalty. Alright, this one's kind of different, but a huge problem in 2016, it was plenty of drivers doing this, swerving in post-race to sort of reset your suspension and car to make it through the laser scans a little bit easier. Kyle Busch was docked 30 minutes of practice time for doing this. Kyle Larson was also docked 30 minutes of practice time as well for doing the same thing. NASCAR's completely cracked down on this since. Man, this one sucks for Denny Hamlin. 2017 Darlington Xfinity. He won the race in dramatic fashion against Joey Logano, but he was assessed an L1 level penalty for a rear suspension modification. Eric Phillips, the crew chief, was fined $25,000 and was suspended for 2 races. They were also penalized 25 owner points. Joey Logano was also penalized with an illegal car as well.
And the burnout begins for Denny Hamlin. Hamlin's 17th career win in the Xfinity Series.
But that's not where we stop. Denny Hamlin also won the Cup race the next day. And guess what? Car was illegal. And guess what? It was a rear suspension again. Another L1 penalty. Crew chief suspended Mike Wheeler. 2 races. Also missed the playoff opener. So, yeah, 2 wins, 2 penalties. That really sucks for Denny Hamlin.
3-man dance for the lead.
Still there in track quarter. Keep coming.
Byron hanging on. Hamlin looking inside. Sadler's right there as well. Contact as they come off a turn 4. Back to the checkered flag at the line. Denny Hamlin wins it by a nose. What a finish.
Speaking of Denny Hamlin, same year, still the Xfinity Series. But we're back at Michigan. I told you we'd get back here. He won the race in the number 20 car, but the splitter was modified. It was not flat the way it was designed to be. His win was encumbered. Chris Gabehart was fined $25,000. That's the crew chief. And he was suspended for the next 2 races. They also lost 25 owner points. Man.
Took Kyle Busch a long time to get his first Atlanta win. It came last year. Now he's going to go back to back. Kyle Busch in a familiar place. Victory Lane at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Man, 2017 was rough for JGR in the Xfinity Series. We're at Atlanta this time. Another win, Kyle Busch. His win was encumbered by NASCAR. It still stands in the record books, but he failed post-race height inspection of both the left front and the right front of the car. They got fined 10 owner points, and crew chief Scott Graves was suspended for 1 race and fined $10,000. All right, now that that's over, we're back to Cup. The number 20 car of Eric Jones at Texas Motor Speedway 2018. After the race, they reissued an L1 level penalty for infractions pertaining to the body and package tray of his number 20 Toyota. NASCAR said the number 20 Toyota that carried Eric Jones to a 4th place finish was found with infractions on the body and package tray. Those sections, 20.4H ... blah 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 blah. In the rule book, note that air cannot pass from one area of the vehicle interior to another. The vehicle package tray must remain flat and straight, front to back, with 1 brake. As a result of this penalty, Jones, who was no longer eligible for the championship, he already got eliminated in the round of 16, was still docked 20 driver points, and his team was docked 20 owner points. His crew chief Chris Gale and car chief Jason Overstreet were both suspended for the next 2 races. Gale was also fined 50,000 buckaroos. All right, Dover, Daniel Suarez 2018. L1 penalty following the race. They were found to have committed a rear window violation. NASCAR said the number 19 team violated section 20.4.8.1.c as his rear window deck lid was not sealed properly. As a result of this penalty, Suarez's crew chief Scott Graves was fined $50,000, and his car chief Todd Brewer was suspended for the next 2 Cup races. And this music's kind of ridiculous. Jeez.
Here comes Priest, just like you mentioned, Junior. Priest on the inside of 3 wide, trying to get by Hemrick as they go down the backstretch.
2018 New Hampshire Xfinity Series. Ryan Priest is in the car now. The number 18 was penalized following a top 5 finish in the race. Eric Phillips was suspended and fined $10,000. The ride heights were incorrect. What else is new? JGR did not appeal. Michigan 2018. Yes, I said Michigan. We're all three getting penalized today. The 11, the 18, and the 20 were all assessed L1 level penalties for having splitters that did not meet rule specifications during pre-race inspection. All three crew chiefs, Mike Wheeler, Adam Stevens, and Chris Gale, were fined $25,000 each. All three car chiefs were suspended a race, and they all finished like garbage. 2022 Pocono. The worst penalty for a race winner in NASCAR history. Denny Hamlin won the race. Kyle Busch finished second. Or did they? They didn't. Third place finisher without even leading a lap, Chase Elliott, wins the race. He's just built different. It was a front fascia penalty. JGR said after the penalty, in our review of the post-race infractions on the number 11 and 18 cars at Pocono, it was discovered that a single piece of clear tape was positioned over each of the lower corners of the front fascia ahead of the left front and right front wheel openings on both the cars. The added pieces were 2 inches wide and 5.5 inches long and a thickness of 12 1/1000ths of an inch, and they were installed under the wrap. This change in our build process was not properly vetted within our organization, and we recognize it's against NASCAR's rules. This was the first time since April 17th, 1960 that a Cup winner was disqualified. Emmanuel Zervakis, his victory at Wilson Speedway in North Carolina, was thrown out because of an oversized fuel tank. That about wraps it up for now. I didn't get every single little thing. You know, you got your race manipulation, running Chastain in the wall, all your little Kyle Busch stuff, all your loose lug nut penalties, whatever. Just imagine all the ones they didn't get caught for, you know? But if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. All I know is every subscription, every like, every comment means the world to me. This video was a pain in the ass to make, but I appreciate it and I love doing it. We'll see you next time.